If you've seen my other videos about this Grizzly Growler Cyclone, you know I had trouble with the fine dust going right through it, and I did try to sell it on Craigslist, but there was nobody. There were just some lowballers, and nobody really wanted to buy it. So I guess I'm stuck with it, and I finally decided to try to take that tube out and see if that made a difference, because you could see the airflow by the tube there, and it looked like it was kind of pushing the fine dust over the edge there. So this is a video about just taking that tube out and showing what happened. And got this old little angle sander I got from Harbor Freight probably 15-20 years ago, and it was the only thing that I could get in there to tack the welds. There are 3 tack welds down in there that kind of hold the tube in place, and then there's just some silicone where it goes through the other wall. So I was able to, just barely reach down there with the tip of this thing and grind away most of the weld there. And I did have to go through a couple belts. Belts are 15-20 years old too, so they don't really last all that long. But eventually I did get through everything and, pretty much got it, so I could get ready to just about break it loose. A little bit of the sharp corners of the weld I couldn't get in with the sander, and I tried to take them out with a big file there, so I worked on that for a while until, things looked like I'd be able to break them free. So then I decided to, rather than try to destroy the pipe with pliers or something like that, I just drew a hole right through it there so I could just put a screwdriver through it and try to twist it out and break what's left of the welds there. So I just took a big old Phillips head screwdriver and put it through there, and actually I was able to break it free. And I took the part out where I actually took the skin off my knuckles with that sharp lip up above there, because I wasn't real careful, and just cut like a razor blade. So I did eventually get it out. There was a little bit more of the weld that I had to go back in and just sand off a little bit, but finally it slipped right out, and I figured that way if it doesn't do anything, I could always put it back in later. So there it is, the piece of that. It's a fairly heavy wall piece of tubing too, and it's a fairly large piece too. So I got that out, and then you can see where it goes through the 2 sections there, and looks like they just drilled it with a hole saw. I cleaned it up a little bit with that sanding belt, and then I'm just going back now and wiping it clean with some alcohol. Figured I've got some of that aluminum HVAC tape here. It's just basically a thin aluminum made for heating systems and ductwork and stuff. So I figured I'd try this to patch that hole up. So I took and I cleaned it off with alcohol, you could see, and then I just took 3 layers of this tape and put it on the inside there, and then I put 3 more around the other side of that piece. It's funny when you look in at that centerpiece here, you can see it's really not round either. It's kind of an oval shape too, so I'm not sure if that might have something to do with the airflow in here also. But there, I put three layers of that on each side of it, and I just wanted something that would lay down flat, not really, affect the airflow or anything. And this was the easiest way for me to test it. And then on the outside, I put 3 layers of that aluminum tape on the inside of the outside there, and then I'm just going to put a piece of 1/16 thick polycarbonate that I've got there, just cut a piece off to fit. And then I just took my heat gun to try to curl it around the best I could to make it fit the outside of that. So I got that industrial heat gun that does a pretty good job of heating things like that hot enough so you can just bend them a little bit. And it really, I really didn't get that great a bend in. I did get enough flex in it though there to make it wrap around and fit fairly tight on there, so it didn't really stick up. So once that started cooling there, it was, had enough bend on it. And then I decided I was going to stick that on the outside with some double-sided tape first. I just took a piece of double-sided tape, and there you can see my knuckles missing the skin from that sharp lip on there. But I just put some double-sided tape on it, trimmed it up so it'll be fairly neat looking. And then just stuck that over the outside, so no matter how much vacuum's in there, won't be able to pull it through. It's something I can always remove later. So I got that on there, and then I went back and threw a couple more coats of this aluminum tape on the outside there just to make sure everything was sealed up perfect and would stay that way. So it only took a couple minutes, and basically I got everything all sealed up and ready to put the unit back together and do a little bit more testing to see what happens. And in the end, I have to tell you that this unit really is not made for fine dust. It will do the larger chips and stuff like that, but I just can't get rid of the dust through it. So I got that all done. You can see it's all nice and flush and patched up there. It's all ready to go back together. So I bolted it back together and then hooked it back up, and at the same time I took that big canister filter on the dust collector itself, and I spent over almost an hour on that thing, blowing it out, cleaning it out, and vacuuming it out, and blowing it out again until, basically I had that as clean as I could possibly get it before I started playing here. So there it is. It's hooked back up the way that I have it, and, I'm not sure if that's the best way to hook it up or not, but that's, they don't really give you any instructions on it. And there it is. I cleaned out that blower and put the bag on there. It's pretty clean now, and I know the filter is been all cleaned out, so I'm gonna do a little bit of testing here. I just grabbed this piece of ash I had laying there. It's about 13 inches wide, and it's rough cut, so it's kind of hard to get through the planer the first couple passes. It won't fit on my joiner, so I figured I was just gonna make a half a dozen or a dozen passes with that board and try to fill the container up about halfway to see exactly what the results would be. So I in the end I think I took a little bit over a 1/4 inch off the board there, and I just figured I'd try to get a half a bin full just to use that for my testing point here. Over time, I'll be able to tell you better, though, once I use it, for a while. But there it is. The board's, you can see the board's pretty flat now, and there's some in the bag. I'm surprised because there aren't any of the larger chips like I was getting through it before. It seems to be mostly finer dust, and so I'm just gonna go back and try to get it out of the filter and stuff and see what got blown up in there also. So I'm going to go back through and just shake the filter a couple times, and then I'm going to, I know this filter is getting old and stuff, but I'm going to go back and just kind of try to blow it back with the air and stuff like I did for actually cleaning it, but I went over it like 6 to 8 times when I cleaned it. And there you can see I got a little bit less than a half a bin of chips from planing that board. And the chips, it does catch the chips, and it does a good job with them. And then if you look over here, you can see all the fine stuff. There are a couple chips, but nowhere near what there were before. It's mostly just fines now. So the that did solve a lot of problems with the chips, it looks like. And I'm just going to go back now and try to get the rest to see what else is stuck in the filter, because I know I had it good and clean before, so I'm just going to blow it back a little bit and see what else I can get out of there. That's not the recommended way to clean a filter, but the only way I could figure to get everything out when I went through and cleaned it. Because some of the stuff actually hangs up on that lip that's inside there. And there you can see the fine stuff. There's good thing is there's absolutely no chips in there now, but you can see the fine stuff still seems to be going through. And then I decided to go over and clean out my table saw good. I turned on the dust collector, and that the hose on the back of the table saw only has like a little 1.5 by 2.5 opening where it goes out to the hose, and the center of the cabinet gets clean, but the edges collect a lot of sawdust on this saw. So I'm in there now just trying to knock out what sawdust I can to get some more of that real fine stuff in the bag. So I got a batch out of that, and same thing, I'm going to go back now and try to just quickly clean it a little bit and blow it out, just so I get a a true idea of what went out there and what went up in the filter again. And you'll see in a second there that there's even more in the filter now, quite a bit more. It's just the fine stuff though. It's all like the real fine powdery stuff. None of the chips went through, so that's really a good thing, I guess, if you're going to use it for planing and stuff like that. But it still isn't really efficient enough for my needs. And here I'll just show you that the container's not over full or anything. It's it's maybe about 5/8 full now, so that's not a factor in it. So in the end, it looks like removing that tube did absolutely nothing for the fine dust, but it did eliminate some of the chips that were finding their way through it. And as you can see there, it's still getting the fine dust through it, and it's really not a good unit for my needs. And I have a project coming up with a lot of cherry to plane, so I'll get a good chance then to see exactly how it works over with larger quantities. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.